Dear Bramblings, it's your Uncle Luke here. Hello, everybody. How's it going? I hope you're doing well. Welcome back to the Dear Brambling podcast. I'm so happy that you're back. Now, today, we're going to be diving into part 2 of my conversation with Oona from the Instagram page WMH_X_0, which also means World Medal Holder times 0. Now, in this part of the conversation, we're going to dive a little bit more into the 6-month ban, the amount of times I've had to transfer in my life, and what that experience has been like. And then I'm also going to talk a little bit about the first time I ever won an open championship. Yeah, very interesting story. And I just want to say thank you to Oona for also just being such a supportive ear, listening to my story. Thank you. That's all I got to say. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Now, at the end, we do go into our rapid fire questionnaire. And, Una's phone died in the midst of it, so I had to improvise a little bit. And so it's going to be a little bit of a corny ending, but you know what? I couldn't have it any other way. I think it's perfect and cute, and it's perfectly imperfect. Let's say that. I just love it. You know what I mean? But anyways, guys, let's see. What's a dance move that we could do into this conversation here? We could. How about we just double front click into this conversation? I'll see you on the other side. Bye. Something else that's also come to my mind, and kind of relating a little bit about like phrases or words that we'd hear in competitive Irish dance. And I mentioned it in the body dysmorphia episode, but award ceremonies, and we were talking a little bit about this, but I find it really interesting, and it's nothing I've really ever questioned growing up in the Irish dance world, but as I'm now out of it, I start questioning it.
Yeah.
How whenever you get a result, it's like, I'm going to use my name as an example, but like in first place, we have Luc Benoit from the blank school. And
Yeah.
typically, like eight times out of 10, that school name is the last name of your teacher or coach.
Yes.
And I feel as though culturally what we're doing is we are rewarding the teachers just as much as the student.
Oh, I so agree with that. And that's a thing. I really wish there was a whole lot less gatekeeping in Irish dance and a whole lot less, like, I think there is such a stigma against, transferring or even just being an independent and going your own path. Because there's just this thing, it's like I suppose, storybook version of it would be you have a teacher and you listen to your teacher, and your teacher is your everything and your biggest inspiration. And, that's not the reality for a lot of people. I am so happy that, as kind of like an outsider, retired dancer, not really, I'm not a teacher. I am not really associated with Irish dance other than my Instagram account. People feel comfortable coming to me and telling me, and I hear a lot of horrifying things people experience with their teachers. And I think teachers kind of get away with it because there's always a thing that it leans towards like blaming the dancer if their teacher treats them poorly. Like, oh, you probably deserved it because you didn't work hard enough. And there's
Mm.
just so much abuse that teachers get away with.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said in
And
the last episode, like when abusers are put into a position in power and their abuse leads to some sort of success, it's like they're giving themselves justification to continue being abusive.
yes, yes. And also, what is so crazy is honestly, the abuse is not necessary. Because I've heard just as many cases of teachers who've had incredibly successful dancers, but they genuinely care about the dancer's well being. And so it's kind of like, yes, in some case, some teachers will teach by fear and control.
Mm.
Okay, and this is another word I'll use, control. There's so much
Mm.
control because so much like manipulation too. I've heard this on, I can't even count how many dancers have said something like this. Like, if a dancer has the audacity to speak up about something, the
Mm.
teacher will be like, well, if you don't do what I say, you won't win, or they withdraw attention, you know? And when you're talking about like teenagers, like these dance teachers have such a powerful influence over these kids. Like a teacher withdrawing attention or screaming at someone and telling them that they are, a waste of time or they're worthless. That really can affect them.
Yeah. I guess my question is like why are teachers like this sometimes? And like my theory is maybe going all the way back to award ceremonies where when their dancer wins, their name is also said next to that winning dancer. And
Yes.
so maybe there's some sort of cultural influence that's going on where when the dancer wins, so does the dance teacher.
Oh, absolutely. The dance teachers, I think there is a lot of the same, in the same way that we were talking about earlier with kids who identify with results, and when they don't get the results they want, they feel like they're worthless. I feel like there's a lot of that with teachers. Like, teachers feel like their only value is in producing champions. Now, the huge difference here is that they're grown adults and
Mm-hmm.
they are trying to validate themselves through kids. They are essentially using these kids as props to boost their own ego, which is not cool. Like, these teachers, they really need to figure out who they are outside of Irish dance, because
Mm.
it's not acceptable to treat a child like, a child is not responsible for your self-worth. No child should have that responsibility on
Woo!
them.
Hold on, just say that sentence one more time.
Oh, I was saying that no child should be responsible for a dance teacher's self-worth. That is
Oh my
entirely
god.
too much pressure on a kid.
Mic drop.
The teachers, yeah. If a teacher is living through kids, they need to figure out who they are, because there's no excuse for mistreating kids and the way they get away with it. Also, because you think kids don't know any better. They don't necessarily identify something as abuse until much later, because they're like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's just the way it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Now, you're also mentioning a little bit about the word control, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm gravitating towards this word as well. And the first thing that kind of comes up when I think about control is this like almost this copyright culture when it comes to choreography and how each school has they see their own choreography as this like copywritten gold. And
Mm-hmm.
like I'm not saying it's not, and I do understand that if another dance school was to like literally do the same choreography, there's something problematic about that. Like I understand.
Yeah, yeah.
um, but the the charged reactions, I've literally heard rumors of dance teachers threatening like mental safety, physical safety, emotional safety over choreography. And
It's insane. And here I'll just name a few examples of control that I have heard of. I've heard of dancers speaking out about things that make them uncomfortable, such as it, being made to dance through an injury or being told to lose weight, and then dance teachers being like, okay, well, fine, then you're not going to win. I'll find someone else. I've heard
mm,
of that.
mm-hmm.
I've heard of dance teachers being controlling over what dancers post on social media, which to an extent I get. If someone is posting hateful or offensive things, obviously that's a totally different case. But I'm talking about, someone just, having some fun with dance, like having total control, like you are not under any circumstance allowed to post anything dance related unless it's approved. I've heard of that, and that's control.
Yeah.
That's excessive. Kids not being able to express themselves at
Mm,
all and just living in fear. I've heard of people who literally like have said like they cry every dance class, like either before dance or after dance, and thinking like, oh no, that's just blood, sweat, and tears. It's like, if you're in a situation where you leave class crying every time you go, there's something wrong with that environment.
yeah.
But it's seen as acceptable to break kids down to the point of tears
Yeah.
because they need to be mentally tough or whatever. Now I disagree with that. I don't think being mentally tough means just accepting verbal insults thrown your way. I see it as not accepting that, being like, no, you can't, you know you can't talk to me like that, like I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to take this.
Mm-hmm.
But there are repercussions if people stand up, even with the 6-month ban.
Oh,
Like, God forbid someone, and it's not, oh, there's such a stigma, and it's like, honestly, I see it very much like a job or a relationship.
yeah.
Sometimes with dance teachers, right, there's nothing wrong with the dance teacher. Likewise, there's nothing wrong with the dancer. There might just be a mismatch. Let's say a dancer wants to dance recreationally, but their teacher is pushing them to only care about winning.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
or vice versa. Let's say there's a dancer who is very intense and wants to keep being pushed, and their dance teacher says, no, you should just be dancing for fun. In both of those cases, it's not a matter of, someone is wrong or right. It's just it's not the right environment for that dancer. And every dancer has different needs. Every dancer will thrive in different conditions. And obviously what I'm talking about now is this is not talking about literal abuse. I'm talking about just cases where it's a mismatch in intensity or like desired
Mm-hmm.
type of training. Just like you'd leave a job if you're not feeling satisfied, or you wouldn't stick around in a relationship where you both people don't want the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It might just there's nothing wrong with anything. It's just you need to find an environment that better suits you. But it's always met with such like you're literally banned from competing for 6 months.
Oh man, as someone who went through one, two, three, four,
Oh
5, maybe 6 month bans, I understand.
my god.
Um, and what you're saying is completely relatable to my experience because, well, there's so many different reasons why I had to transfer so many times.
Mhm.
First reason was, um, actually, I'm not entirely sure. I was like three and four, but my mom she's a preschool teacher, and what I remember is that she heard my dance teacher when I first started say some things that set some alarm bells,
Okay.
and she's like, "Nope, Luke needs someone else." And so she took me out and
Okay.
put me in another dance school, and I was there for like 6 7 years, and that's when that dance teacher essentially like left the school and decided to like move out of country, and
Okay.
then we all had to get transferred. And there's like a weird special circumstance with that transfer where you get like a 4 month ban or a 3 month ban or something.
Oh, now it's 6 month across the board. If your teacher quits teaching and moves to another country, too bad.
Wow.
Which is so stupid.
Um, and then, yeah, when that happened, that's when I went to this dance teacher that wreaked some havoc on my mental health. And I was only there for about eight
Yeah.
months. And then I ironically transferred back to my old dance teacher, and we were driving to Seattle once a week for dance classes for about 6 years. Um,
Oh my God, you literally drove out of the country?
we literally crossed the border every single week to go to my
Oh
dance
my
school,
God, that's so crazy.
right?
Um, Wait, how long of a drive is that
It's
for
about a
you?
it's about a 2 hour drive to Seattle from Vancouver.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I have some very good friends from dance who live in Seattle.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's crazy. 2 hour drive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And then my parents divorced, and so then I had to transfer again to a more local dance school. And
okay.
there's a lot of circumstances, but like if I were to like measure all of the bands that I had to receive in my competitive career, it's like almost 2 years, 3 years worth of competition.
Yeah, and do you know what else I hate about that? Like as you said, like pretty much all these situations were things that were not like in your control. Like the first ones you were a literal like baby.
Hmm.
Like that wasn't like then the next one you said your teacher quit and moved to a different country, and then obviously you had one who was abusive, so you're gonna leave that one.
Hmm.
And then the next one, it's like if your parents are divorcing and you no longer can make that long commute, that's a very valid reason.
Hmm.
And there's so much just like shame around transferring for any reason. Like I transferred schools once,
Hmm.
and it actually was not my choice.
Mm.
Um, it was more so a matter of I was going to a satellite location. Um, of the main school, which it wasn't terribly far away. It
Mm.
was maybe like 45 minutes away, but both my parents were working.
Mm. Hmm.
And because of the schedule, they were not able to, like, they weren't able to get me there. And it also just so happened that there was another school a 5 minute drive. So it's like, you know, that was very much more feasible.
Totally.
But I didn't choose. My mom actually like transferred on my behalf. She
Hmm.
was just like, "Oh, oh yeah, you're transferring," and I'm like, "What?"
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah, and I was so afraid of the 6 month ban, but it was fine. And like
Yeah.
in my case, like I have no hard feelings at all towards my first school. It was just sometimes the situation doesn't work out,
Hmm.
similar to your case, like with your parents divorcing, you can't just go to a different country
Yeah.
and drive 2 hours for dance class.
Yeah. No, something that's come into my mind is a quote from my favorite cartoon of all time, Avatar: The Last Airbender. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but there's this character. His name's Uncle Iroh, and he's like the wise old funny guy in the show. And
Mm-hmm.
he says something that is just like completely my experience in Irish dance. He says, if you only take wisdom from one place, it becomes rigid and stale. Understanding others, the elements, and the other nations will help you become whole.
Oh wow.
And I'm like, oh, a lot of it was not my choice, but I experienced my competitive Irish dance career gathering wisdom from multiple different places. And I got to understand different perspectives, different, like, I grew up saying rallies instead of trebles, but I grew up,
Oh yeah, so did I.
and so like I now just I can interchange them all. It's really strange, but yet rally still kind of clicks in my head as like the right thing to say. But also like learning different Kayleys, learning different traditional sets, learning different ways to tackle certain obstacles. It was actually something I would never take back or redo. Like, what an incredible opportunity.
Exactly. And that's a thing like that I wish was different about Irish dance. Like that, like I said, there's so much gatekeeping, and it's almost like each school, the way they are so secretive and so guarded, it's almost as if they're like, kind of like companies, like
Mm-hmm.
protecting their trade secrets. It's like, I really wish there was a lot more sharing of Irish dance and a lot less like trying to keep people out.
Yeah,
Um, and
yeah.
that's another thing I try to do like with my Instagram. It's like, I don't compete anymore. I do all these like fun little choreography challenges
I
because
love
it's
them.
just kind of a way. Oh, they're so
I
fun.
saw
It's kind of
your
a
Planksty Davis one with the cursed.
way.
Oh my
The
god, the
atrocities.
cursed
I love doing
atrocities. Oh
those.
my god, it was so funny. Anyways, keep going.
Yeah, and it's just a fun way to like share dance.
Mm,
Um, regardless of school or level, we can all just, what I like about doing these challenges is they're very interactive. People will give me suggestions. I'll be like, oh, I'll try that next.
mm,
Um, and I really love that I have the platform I do to share dancing
mm-hmm.
because I think, at the end of the day, it's like, I think we should just share our passion for this activity because if you're not enjoying it, why do it? And I've found a way that I can enjoy it. uh and for me, that's, it's usually late at night, just when the studio at the gym is free, just like fooling around with
Mm-hmm.
steps. That's what is enjoyable to me.
I love that. Now, last little thing I want to kind of run by you, and
Hmm.
this is something that I've been thinking about for quite a long time.
Right.
And it is kind of a cultural language tying it all in, but I feel as though personally I am an athletic artist when the
Hmm.
culture or the culture of competitive Irish dance is demanding artistic athletes. And
Interesting.
for me, like, I'm going to quote my vocal coach. So you were mentioning you don't like to sing. I love to sing, and I have a vocal coach. But he said something to me that really hit home. He says that it's our job as artists to invite people to feel emotions that they wouldn't normally let themselves feel. And
Ooh.
the other there's another Instagram page that I follow called Inspired to Write, and what she says is that it's not the artist's job to be palatable. When you strive for the world to be like you guarantee that no one will love you. Start alienating people with your art. You are not for everyone. Stop trying to be.
Oh my God, I love that so much because that's a thing that I have, been coming to terms with in the recent years. And I post a lot about like how important it is to be your authentic self because through being who you are, you'll find the right people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I found. I'll openly say it, I'm a bit weird. I post a million pictures of my cats. I spam the internet with AI generated opossum memes. But this is who I am. I am goofy. I have opinions. I like to be silly. I like to have fun. And it's not for everyone. Some people might think I'm weird.
Mm-hmm.
And other people, they'll say, like, you're weird, and that's why I love you.
Mm-hmm.
I've made some incredibly close friends And it all started through this Instagram page where it's like I say this is me being me. And that just goes across like with everything. Like if you are pretending to be someone you're not, you're never really going to find your people
Mm.
and you'll always be miserable. And oh my God, I have to write a book someday because literally like just like the amount of my life that I spent trying to act in a way that is I suppose normal, just like pretending to like things I didn't care about, pretending to not like things that I actually did like.
Mm-hmm.
Just like trying to act the way that I suppose normal people acted. I never made any friends that way, and it wasn't really until later on in college that I started to open up to a few people who I trusted. And that's when I was like, wow, there are people who love me for who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so comfortable to be around people who you don't have to act around because there's a reason why I used to have such bad social anxiety. It's because I was exhausted. I was always acting.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exhausting when you have to consciously like think everything you say and do. You're like living through a filter. Now I imagine I have probably pushed people away through being who I am because maybe I'm not for everyone, but I've also made like the most rewarding deep connections with people. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I want to encourage other dancers because it's all connected. Like the self-esteem thing, I am open about the fact that I was a social outcast in school, and
Mm-hmm.
that contributed to my over-identification with dance. There are definitely other kids out there who dread going to school every day, who desperately wish they could be homeschooled so they didn't have to deal with going to the cafeteria and not having people to sit with
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah. Oh, totally. And what's coming to mind is a story in my past that I was hoping to maybe share with you. If would that be okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, of course.
So I want to tell you about the only time I won an open championship. So I know it's kind of hard to believe when I lay out all of my successes in front of other dancers, being
Yeah,
like I'm a four-time Western Canadian champion. I got top 10 in North America like three times,
but
and
wait, in Western Canada, are open competitions
they
mixed?
can be, yeah, they can.
Okay, that's interesting because in the Mid-Atlantic region, they're pretty much never mixed.
Interesting. Yeah,
Then I don't think I've ever seen a Mid-Atlantic Fest that combined boys and girls.
really. Wow. You've never seen one that combined boys and girls. Oh my God, that was the
It,
norm
I
for
mean,
us.
in open champs, they were always divided. In
Wow.
prelim, and the grades, they're always combined, but in open, it's always boys and girls separated.
Oh my gosh. No, we had mixed boys and girls, and we also had mixed age groups. So I had, yeah, it was hard to win, period.
Oh,
But
yeah.
there was one competition in Seattle that I finally did win. And
Hmm.
going into this competition, my reel had this pony step in it. At the time, these pony steps were like all the rage. You like go down the stage and you kind of like plant your right foot down on your toe and then you kick your butt with your left foot and then you kind of like go along going doing stuff like that. And I don't know, I just hated it. Like I hated it how I felt doing it. I hated watching myself do it. And I just had this audacious idea. I saw someone do a little snippet of a choreography that I really liked. And I knew that that little snippet and these pony steps that I had to do had the same timing.
Ooh.
And I was practicing and I decided to like try it just in the step. And immediately when I was practicing, it just everything clicked. I'm like, I like this step now. I want to do this step.
Yeah.
And it was like 2 weeks before the competition, and I just decided, who's going to stop me if I get on that stage and I just do it? No one.
I love everything about this.
No one.
Scandalous. I love it.
Right? And this is something I know that I will probably divide people on opinions. But yeah, I stepped on that stage and I just literally 5% of my real choreography was mine. And I ended up winning that competition, the whole competition. And after I finished my reel, my dance teacher went up to me, and like I don't hold a lot of animosity at all to this dance teacher, but this was just one moment where I feel as though she was subject to the culture and the normalcy of
Mm-hmm.
competitive Irish dance, where she went up to me and she like adjusted my tie and like fixed my hair, and she just said like, that was cool. That was a cool little reel, but Luke, I need you to know that I don't want you to ever step onto that stage and do something that we haven't prepared in class ever again. And I looked at her and I said like, okay, I understand totally. However, once I finished my set for that competition, I went to my room and I bawled like I didn't even recall at nationals at one time. Like I cried so hard because I betrayed or like I failed my dance teacher.
Oh my God, I feel that so hard.
And I the thing that felt really awful about this whole win that I got was that I didn't get a chance to actually fully enjoy it. I didn't get a chance
Yeah.
to feel that joy because the culture of Irish dance forced my dance teacher to say this to me
Mm-hmm.
and completely take the wind out of my sails. And this is where I know I'm going to divide some people with this story is that, like, no, like in a competitive setting, like, you should be going up onto that stage and feeling fully prepared and knowing what you're going to do. But as an artist, I want to express myself. You know, I want to force people to feel emotions that they're maybe not willing to feel. And I think that's what I did.
Mm-hmm.
I did that with my dance teacher. I forced her to straddle with the vulnerability that she's not in control,
Yeah.
that there are still many, many opportunities in the real world where you can put on this counterfeit control and play militant captain till you're blue in the face, but until the dancer gets up on that stage, like you can't control them, right?
I love everything about this. And I think like that little story you just told me, that like basically is everything about what I do. My entire Instagram account is like, there is so much freedom in my current involvement in Irish dance because I'm not a TCRG.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not competing. I don't run a business. I don't make any money from this. So I literally have nothing to lose.
Mm,
And with that having nothing to lose, no one is controlling what I say or do. No one can. Because if someone has a problem with something I say, like, okay, fine, then just don't follow me.
mm-hmm.
I am in total creative control of what I do.
Yeah,
And I believe that dancers should be able to express themselves. I agree with that.
right. And
And I
like,
totally agree too that's the culture that teachers to be in control at all times.
yeah. And I mean, this is dance. Dance is considered art. And
It is.
Irish dance is literally ripping the art away. And they're forcing them to become these athletic robots.
I
And
agree with that. Yes.
maybe I'm burying or I'm digging my own grave by saying these types of things, but I wish so desperately that I could have enjoyed that only win I had in open championships.
Yeah, and I have had such a similar experience with not being able to experience joy in a win. Um, there's always something like kind of toxic within the culture that takes it away from you. Like I have talked about this before in some of my posts, but at my last Oireachtas I did. I I got second but I still left feeling like a loser
Mm,
because I messed up a team. Like
mm,
I outright made a mistake and was the reason my team didn't place. And people on my team were angry with me. So I left feeling like a total reject.
mm.
And it's like I was just like sobbing on the whole car ride home because I thought everyone hated me. So
Oh,
that, like, meanwhile, I had just, gotten on the podium for the first time ever. And it was just like, oh, right, back to reality. Everyone hates me.
oh, oh.
So
It's
it's so similar. It's like when you want to celebrate, you want to be happy for something that happened, there's something that takes your joy away.
wow. So, Una, with all of that being
Hmm.
said, oh my gosh, I'm curious. Like, do you know of any? I think we're talking about this already, but like maybe let's be a little more explicit if we can. How can we like take care of ourselves in environments like this? And what sort of ways can we maybe like reframe our minds? Because like for me, the cultural thing of being like in first place, so and so from the blank
Hmm.
school. For me, I want to see that as celebrating the teamwork between the
Yeah.
dance teacher and the dancer, as opposed to the dancer won, but it's really the teacher that won, or vice versa,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
who actually won? Well, they both won because they're working as a team. And for
Yeah.
me, I think also recognizing that there is a difference between an athletic artist and an artistic athlete. And
I agree with that.
who
Yes.
is the artistic athletes and who are the athletic artists, and how can we adjust our teaching style to better accommodate these different people so they don't have to feel forced into this box, because that's how it felt for me,
Hmm.
right? Like so frequently were my ideas shot down for choreography because just because, like there's no room for negotiation. And it made I think it aggravated my body dysmorphia even more because it's like I can't do that with my body and I don't feel good doing it. What's wrong with me?
Oh God, yeah. I feel that so hard. Yeah. Um, okay, I think it's really interesting the whole like athletic artist versus artistic athlete, because this is one thing I'm going to say. A lot of people seem to get really offended if you call Irish dance an art form, because I think with that, they perceive calling it an art form rather than a sport means that it's not hard and it's not athletic. I disagree with that. Art forms can be incredibly athletic. I think calling it a sport actually takes away from the skill. Like, it's not running, it's not swimming, it's not just pure athletic. There's art within it, but it's also very athletic. You have to be incredibly strong to get through a hornpipe.
Oh yeah.
And it's kind of the same as, like, I would not call, like, let's say for example, like ballet, I would not call that a sport, but that does not mean it's not incredibly physically demanding.
Oh my god. I
It's just,
I've done some ballet. Holy crap. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's also important for any dancer out there who's maybe relating to what we're saying to maybe just also take inventory of these moments and maybe start gathering some awareness. I think that's essentially our goal of this conversation is like,
Hmm.
we've stepped away from the competitive environment for such a long time and these are the things that we're starting to like unpack and notice and like things that we thought were normal that maybe weren't. And I think at the same time finding out who you are. I love that you said that. Like, who are you? And like you also
Hmm.
mention and call out teachers. Who are you without Irish dance? This is
Exactly.
a huge question to maybe start asking ourselves, and giving ourselves a little bit of love as well and forgiveness, right? Like
Absolutely.
something that hits really hard for me is when I tell myself maybe holding myself to the standard of superhuman is not fair. And when
It's not.
when I tell that to myself, I literally just got shivers now,
Hmm.
right? Because clearly I was holding
Yeah,
myself to that standard for so long,
right.
right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you have any other ideas of how we can take care of ourselves?
Well, I mean, I have to say, I think it's definitely improved, but there is absolutely no shame in getting help.
Mm,
I personally, I have a therapist. In fact, I had therapy earlier today and I talked about Irish dance the whole time.
I love that. Me too. I sometimes take whole sessions with my counselor as well. He's probably like,
Yeah,
wow, this guy.
yeah, yeah. So it's like, I think, and therapy has helped me figure out the stuff that was buried deep down that I just covered up with like trying to be good enough in dance or whatever. And I think it's getting rid of dance was not the solution at all because I can, and this is a whole long story, but the mess I was when I started college.
Mm,
If you just get rid of one obsession, you just replace it with another.
mm-hmm.
So you have to learn who you are and to be okay with yourself and know who you are, behind. And interestingly enough, I have been open about the fact that I did struggle with an eating disorder in the past.
Mm-hmm.
That has nothing, I think it has not so much to do with body image or food or any of that. It was just very much that I never processed the problems that I was trying to cover up,
Wow.
and through therapy and through like dealing with everything that I was dealing with and learning to actually feel feelings, that just made the eating disorder stuff resolve on its own, which it was so ironic to me because the way to deal with it was to not deal with it, to deal with the things underneath that
Mm,
were hiding.
mm-hmm. Totally. Oh, well, thank you so much, Una.
Yeah.
Before we finish, would you be down to do like a quick little rapid fire to wrap things up with me?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love these types of questions. And
Yeah.
this is perfect timing because my phone's about to die.
Oh
So,
my gosh, perfect. Okay. Um, so first question, what does vulnerability mean to you?
oh, it means, I think, opening up and sharing parts of yourself when there is a risk of being judged,
Mm,
or where it's like not necessarily comfortable.
mm-hmm. I love that.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, that's a
Yeah.
great answer. Thank you. I agree. Whew. Um, what's your favorite song slash band slash genre of music?
Oh, Lana Del Rey.
Nice. Love that. Amazing. What's your favorite meal?
Oh, anything with peanut butter. I
Oh my god, I'm so called out right now too though.
I'm so incredibly lazy. I like don't cook. I literally will just eat peanut butter straight out of the jar.
Me too. Like legit me too.
I
It's a problem.
love
I can't buy it
I
anymore. I will eat it all in a day.
it's so good though.
It
No,
is.
peanut butter, like one of my favorite snacks that I have almost every day is peanut butter on rice cakes because
Mm,
it's just like it's kind of like rice cakes don't really taste like anything, but it's like you get the taste of peanut butter, but it's crunchy and it's
mm.
so good.
I love that. Um, speaking of food, if you could have a meal with any three people, living, dead, or fictional, who would they be and why?
Oh, if fictional is an option.
Oh yeah,
Ooh, SpongeBob, Patrick, and Squidward. That would be so
that's
funny.
that would be
Like
so
just to
good.
observe their dynamics.
Yeah, that's amazing. Oh my gosh. Do you have a favorite movie?
Ooh, I have not watched that many movies.
That's okay.
If we're allowed to include Christmas movies, I watch Elf every year.
Oh
I
heck
also was
yeah.
a big fan of the Barbie movie.
Ooh, yeah,
So it was really entertaining.
that movie hit me harder than I think it should have, but mainly because I experienced death on a front row seat, and that whole movie was about, death in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it hit hard. Now, because it's me, and I feel like it's my mission to ask all my guests on my podcast this, but do you have a favorite Pokemon?
Okay, so I will say that I think.
Oh, Una? Oh, I think her phone died. That's okay. I will send her a message. Okay, give me 1 second here. Do, 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 do. Hey there, Una. I think your phone died. Any chance you could just send me a voice note um, for your answer to what is your favorite Pokemon? And then finally, what is something that you'd like to tell the next generation of humans growing up in the world? That was a great conversation. Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks. Happy face. Perfect. Okay, let's see what she says.
Okay, so my favorite Pokemon, I'd say, would be Charmander, for no reason other than I think Charmander is pretty cute. And as for what I would tell the next generation, I would say remind everyone that, things might be terrible now, but it will end up okay in the end, because as someone who was kind of a shy, socially awkward kid who felt like I didn't belong anywhere, that doesn't stay with you for your entire life. Things will get better. You will find your people.
Thanks so much, Una, for coming on to the podcast. Your insights were amazing, and I'd love to have you come back onto the show again if you'd like. Thank you again, and hope your phone gets charged. There we go. Thanks so much, guys. Alrighty, everybody. Oh gosh, it's over. I know. Yeah, I just thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening. If you got this far, I don't know what else to say. Like, thank you for holding some space for me. I really do appreciate it. And thank you to Una for coming onto the podcast and for holding space for me and for sharing her story as well, and for finding someone who's gone through so many similar things. So many similar things. It's wild. um I needed it. I needed to find Una. That's all I can say. And yeah, just incredibly thankful. I want to end, however, on one little thought that I wanted to share. And it's really funny because, like, a few weeks after Una and I had recorded this conversation, here pops on my Instagram feed a reel from Alok. I don't know if you've ever heard of Alok. They're this incredible speaker and comedian, and what they said is that, let me try to quote them here. The antithesis of community is control. Oftentimes, we've been sold the image of love is that I'm controlling you because I love you. But true love says I get to change. I get to be whoever I want to be, and I need to be in a community that shows me that kind of love. Does that make sense? I don't know if I know I didn't quote it perfectly, but whew. the moment I saw that, I sent it to Una. I was just like, listen, you said control. That was a word and a phrase and an experience that you experience quite frequently. And here is this public speaker, brilliant, essentially explaining why sometimes we felt so disconnected from the Irish dance community. It's because there's so much control going on that it felt so fearful to change and express. It was really sad if you think about it. Now, what I realize is that this whole conversation is pretty much painting Irish dance in kind of a negative light. Like, we're deeply questioning a lot of what's been going on. And I want to make something incredibly clear. Both joy and sorrow can exist at the exact same time. It really can. And it's one of the most beautiful ways to start describing life, because suddenly a lot of things start making sense. And I can be so hurt and damaged by the Irish dance community, but also just like really am grateful for so many of the experiences I did get to have. Like, my childhood was pretty dang lit. Like, dramatic and traumatic, but pretty lit, honestly. Anyways, guys, if you want to follow the meme lord herself, WMH_X_0, her links will be in the bio there. Go follow Una. Tell him Luke sent ya. If I mean, let's be honest, a lot of her, lol, you're probably already following her if you're listening to this. However, to my bramblings, because this is who the podcast is dedicated to, I'm so glad that I'm telling my story to you. And I'm so glad that there's some people out here that are willing to hold space for really hard stories. The reason why I want to share my story with you guys is because, like I said at the very beginning, I want you guys to know Luke, Uncle Luke, the human, who's messed up a lot. So much. He's still messing up. But he has achieved some cool things. He's done some cool things in his life, and I think Uncle Luke deserves to be proud of that. And yeah, I don't know, I love you guys. I love you so much. I hope that you find something in your life that I was just as passionate about. You know, listen, I can't protect you. I can't protect you from everything, but maybe if I could just talk about what I went through, maybe something will be familiar. You know what I mean? I love you guys. And, yeah. Everyone, thanks for listening. And bye for now. We're going to bow out and exit. I gotta stop. Bye. The Dear Brambling Podcast is a podcast dedicated to my little bramblings, to the next generation of humans growing up in the world, as well as to anyone who might be looking for a little more guidance in their life. It is hosted by me, Luke Benoit. Editing and sound design are by Cedar Picture and Sound, MB Productions, and Hideout Productions. The music that you're listening to is called Curiosity, and it's composed by Matthew Grazier at Grazier Music. The logo was designed by Misaki at HostessMisaki on Twitch TV. And if you'd like to follow me on any social media, you can do so on Twitch as well as on Instagram at Lucatronosaurus Rex. And to anyone who is listening to the podcast this far in, I just want to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I really do appreciate it. I do, however, need to say that this podcast was brought to you for education and entertainment purposes and should not be used as a substitute for actual licensed coaching, counseling, or therapy. If you are experiencing some sort of pain in your life and you need some help, I definitely recommend shopping around for the right coach, counselor, or therapist that is right for you. With all that being said, I really do hope that you're doing something today to take care of yourself. And I do hope that you have a great rest of your day. Bye for now.